In this video, I'm going to talk about our process of research and development that we use at Haywood Commercial. And it is very important for me to talk about this because sometimes we get stuck in the way we do things, and it happens a lot in our industry where people, the way we work, as we call it in our industry, people get stuck in the way we work. And it is very important for me that as a firm, we don't get stuck in the way we work, that we're always learning, improving, developing, and just trying new things that will help our clients to achieve their goals because ultimately that's why we exist, to help you to achieve your goal. And so the process that we used is this. We come up with a hypothesis, we test. Depending on the results of the test, we may come up with our thesis and repeat, or we may come up with a need to pivot. And that's what we do. So the hypothesis is a supposition or a proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point. So our starting point is often some observation that we've made or some evidence that we've found about something, and we want to explore it. And where do we find this? It is often from looking at the things that are going on in the marketplace and the things that are going on with our clients. So we try to track data. Yes. And we are big on using data. And as the firm grows, my vision is to create more software, leverage more software that will help us to collate, identify, and put data in a format that we can use to we can use to make better decisions, and that we can use to help our clients as well to understand what's going on in the marketplace and how to leverage certain things for their benefit. So that's how we tend to come up with our hypotheses. And then we test it. So we try out our hypotheses and observe the impact or the outcome of it. And then we have these two choices. Either we go to thesis or we pivot. We go to thesis if we realize that it may be true, or we test it and we realize that there is something here that has confirmed our hypothesis, and so we want to take it further. So the thesis is if the test shows that the hypothesis is correct and it has bring the desired results, then we craft our thesis around that. And it becomes the basis for the way we do things, and we repeat the actions associated with that thesis. We repeat it until the thesis is no longer valid. That's what we do. And then we pivot in two cases. If the thesis is invalid, we will pivot. Or if testing of the hypothesis shows us that the hypothesis is not correct, then we pivot. And so, what does this mean for you as a client of Haywood Commercial? It means that we're always learning what works and what doesn't work for the construction industry and what work for construction contracts. And it means that we are a learning firm, that we never get stuck in the old way of doing things. We are always just observing the landscape, observing what's going on within the firm and what's going on with our clients, and coming up with theses and testing them to ensure that our clients can leverage all the knowledge that we are getting and using it for their benefit. So we are not a firm that just have information that we sit on and don't share with our clients. That's not who we are. We are also not a firm that is not organized to to harvest the data that we have. We are very cognizant and intentional about like our file system, how we collect information, how we use information, and how that information can bring value to our clients. And so this is the process that we use for research and development and to come up with the ideas and the solutions that we provide to our clients. And so I'll give you an example. We we observe the market and we realize, for example, that fluctuations is an issue with the market conditions. And prior to COVID, a lot of people didn't pay attention to fluctuations and the impact that that would have on their pricing. And a lot of people were happy to go into fixed price contracts. It was a thing. It was certainty for the client, and contractors and subcontractors felt to some degree that it was an easy way to make money because anything outside of that would be a change. But quickly, as COVID started and we started negotiating contracts, because when, if you know my story, you know that I started doing freelance work and setting up myself in business during COVID. So that's when I started um, branching out on my own. And I quickly realized that fluctuations was going to become a huge driver in the marketplace for cost plus contracts, for example. And realizing that there are certain things that contractors and subcontractors will need to do, for example, not fixing the price of goods and materials. And it became our hypothesis that fluctuations and the clauses dealing with fluctuations under standard form contracts will be heavily utilized post COVID. And so that became our hypothesis. And so we tested it. And how we tested it is we had a look in the marketplace to see what was going on out there, what was the industry talking about, um, checking the discussions that were being had, the news that was being reported in industry newspapers, talking to our clients, and also just observing that we were doing a lot of amendments on these clauses, and a lot of amendments were being done by the other side on these clauses. And so we tested it, and the test confirmed our hypothesis. So we came up with a thesis, which centered around the fact that post COVID, we have to consider fluctuations because there are a lot of uncertainty because of supply chain and demand for goods and all that stuff. That we had to now develop um, work in alignment with the standard form clauses, but bring them up to the expectation of our clients, because some clients required very bespoke clauses when it came to fluctuations. And our thesis became centered around that, the fact that fluctuations will become an important amendment and addition to contracts post COVID. And so we've seen this. And so this means that we're repeating that thesis as it is, because we are constantly advising our clients on fluctuation clauses. We're constantly looking at the best way in which to work these into bespoke contracts and also standard form contracts, and looking at the risk of that for our contractors and our subcontractor clients. And so we are still in repeat phase of this thesis because it is ongoing. At some point, it may fall off again, like pre-COVID, when people weren't so bothered about fluctuations because there was a constant um, supply of materials and goods. That it may happen that further down the line, we'll pivot to something else. But in this regard, that's an example of how we use this, just by observing the landscape and looking at what we're doing, the negotiations and the drafting that we're doing in around this in contracts post COVID, and using that information to inform our actions, and also letting our clients know that these are issues now that you need to look out for. There are certain ways in which, for example, clients and employers are drafting these clauses that sometimes are a bit stringent, and the ways to mitigate this if it is that you meet upon a client or employer who's not willing to renegotiate that clause. So that's an example of how we use our research and development process to not only improve what we do, but also to help our clients and ensure that they achieve their overall goals and aims for their business, whether it is for this financial year or in the coming years. So I hope that was helpful for you. If you have any questions, if something was not clear, if you would like me to expand on something, hop on over to LinkedIn, find me, send me a DM, and I will definitely respond to you or even make it into a video at some point. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.